Did you look at it?
Hello, hello, hello. We're going to bring it down a notch. How's everybody doing this evening?
Having a good time.
Oh yeah, best ever.
I just wanted to thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Tony.
It has been a fantastic last 6 weeks or so talking to everyone. I'm really glad you're here.
Stand over here.
There's people who have come from near and far. Over here?
Yeah, so you're in the light.
Oh, I don't want to be in the light.
John, you need to be on the seat. John, please
Follow the
cooperate.
rules. Come
You
right
can
here.
hear me.
Come right here.
It's for the
I
video.
hear you. No, I don't want to do that. You don't have to get close. Just
See, they're screwing with me now. I can walk up to them and talk to them. This is a nice, intimate little crowd. But anyway, I want to thank you for everyone coming this evening. There have been people that have come near and far. I want to give a big shout out to Mr. Douglas Durant. When I first started working on this, he was one of the first people I called, and he almost immediately said, yes, I'll be there. And that gave me the incentive to call everybody else. You were definitely instrumental.
Did you pay the admission?
Was there a fee?
For you,
We'll send you a check.
our friends get it for free, but it's like $10 for you.
But I want to thank everyone else too. I mean, Al and Melanie came in from Charlottesville. My great friends here, Sasha and Preston and Andrea and John, came in from New York. And we're
Great
really
city of
happy
New
to
York
have them
City, I
here.
should add.
Do I?
Henry Tower with me?
And
That's
my
right.
daughter,
don't worry, that's part
my
of the
daughter
script.
Anna came in
Rehearsed
from Las
it earlier.
Cruces, New Mexico. My other daughter, her family, Nick and her, Rebecca, and Henry Jackson. They drove in from right outside of Nashville. Now I wanted to say thank you to everybody. I don't want to name all the names here, but Tavia Pig was she was extreme. She really calmed my nerve. I think on our second conversation she said, "Well, I used to do catering," and that was an excellent source of help for me.
We have someone from New Mexico.
Huh? Do what?
Did you already say it?
I
You
did.
rehearsed it all.
Las Cruces, New Mexico.
Anna, yeah.
I did, yes. Yeah. See, even my guests up here aren't listening
Keep
to
up.
me. I don't.
I'm just making sure because you wanted those.
Can you hear back here?
No, we can't.
Anna
I'm here.
is from Las Cruces, New Mexico.
Oh, that sounds good on the mic.
That
But-
does sound good on the money.
It's hard to hear back
Did it?
here.
Hint, hint.
You can hear me without a microphone, though, right?
No,
Yes.
no,
Not
Can you hear me in the
so
back?
much. No.
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 That's why
Get on the mic. Get on the mic and sit still.
Get on the mic, Mike.
I'm going to do a little dance for you guys. Well, this is actually kind of appropriate because the Very good. That's fine.
Doesn't that voice melt your head?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Oh,
Yes.
now we can hear.
And this is appropriate.
Rich timber and tone.
The person I want to thank the most is the man behind the camera, Ralph Eaton. Ralph Eaton, without your generosity and kindness, this definitely wouldn't have been a night like this. This is a special place, and he has opened his doors for me and for everyone here. And I really appreciate that. And also kind of want to give a shout out to him. He's one of the most dedicated, hardworking artists I've had the pleasure of knowing, and
Make me laugh.
he's providing a space here for working artists, 24 times a year, maybe,
Approximately, yeah.
with performances.
Next
here.
show is next weekend.
Yeah,
Come on back.
and I want to encourage everyone. He actually has a donation thing over here. If you have a couple of extra dollars, throw it in the kitty, and he has
Round
shirts for
applause
sale.
for Ralph. The man is in the house.
So thank you, Ralph.
Welcome. Anytime.
So,
How about tomorrow night?
Come on back.
we could do this,
Might do that.
we could do my family party here in the morning.
Slumber party.
But again, thank you, Ralph. So anyway, the seed that kind of started this gathering was months ago, speaking with John and Andrea, and the motivation for me to act is because they're going to be taking on a whole new chapter of their life, a momentous move. They've given up their apartment in Brooklyn, which is a very sad thing, and they're moving just a few weeks from now. They're officially moving to Lisbon, Portugal.
See, how could you leave that address as well? John High on St. John Street. Almost as good as John High on Head Street.
That's right.
And Sasha grew up
That's
there,
right.
too. Sasha Hyams.
But anyway, so it was, that's what really started this whole thing, the celebration for them. But then it kind of morphed into other little minor celebrations or mini celebrations. And like one for me is being with my two daughters this evening and having
Wow.
Nick here. And also my grandson, Henry Jackson.
Going right into his jeans right now.
As I've told, I think almost everyone I know, I have it from high authority that he's the best baby in the world. And I'm sticking with that story.
He sleeps
And he was eyeballing those drums.
But I also realized, talking with a lot of you, that one of the real celebrations here is just rekindling friendships, particularly people who've not seen each other in a long time, but also just seeing people that you do get to see every once in a while. And that's always a celebration, I think, with friendship. This is kind of the hard part, though. One of the celebrations that became apparent just happened a little over 2 weeks ago, and it's a different kind of celebration. It's a celebration of life. I don't know that everyone in this room knows Gordy Lee, but those of us in the room who knew Gordy Lee knew that he was an extraordinary, kind, genuinely kind man, a good man. And just a little over 2 weeks ago, we lost a really good friend. And I think a lot of people here have been thinking about Gordy. I'm going to get through this.
You can do it.
You're doing great, Johnny. You're doing great.
So, what I would like to do this evening is just give a little bit of reflection. Those of us who know Gordy, flashing through your minds right now. And what I'd like to do is just do a moment of silence for him. So everyone, if you do have a glass, or just raise your hand. To Gordy.
Gordy.
To a good friend. And to a really, really kind man.
Yep.
To Gordy.
Amen. Here, here.
You're here.
If anybody else would like to say a few words about Gordy, you're welcome to do that.
John, I can say for sure that I've never been around Gordy when he wasn't happy.
Yes.
Smiling, funny, engaged, and happy.
Yes.
It's been a long time since I've seen him, but it's a fond memory.
I have been speaking with Pat Young a little bit about Gordy, and I had the privilege of seeing Gordy about 9 or 10 days, I guess, before he passed. And I went over there. It was just Gordy and Susan, and both of them were just amazingly gracious with me, and it's like Gordy was more worried about me.
You said he was pissed off about not being able to spend his 401K. How about that?
Yes, he was.
Should have gone for the bird in the hand.
Do I?
Should have gone for the bird in the hand.
Yes. Yes.
I just say he was always, not just a happy soul, but he was, I mean, even back in high school, his sense of intellectual curiosity, from physics to poetry, and his kind of open mind and a very brilliant mind. Gordy was just always one of those goofballs that,
That you wanted to be around.
that, you only see, in the most brilliant and happy of faces, He just didn't give a hoot about all that, but he was always curious, so it didn't matter. Whether we're talking politics, poetry, physics, quantum, he didn't mind jumping off the bridge. He didn't mind swimming in unknown waters, and he enjoyed it. He didn't worry about it, and he had not only the curiosity but the mental aptitude to throw his whole body into whatever it is was happening in a conversation. It's rare, and he had a great smile.
I have to say he was a direct descendant of Robert E. Lee.
Really?
Yeah, and he
This is really important what he said.
he publicly endorsed the statues coming down in Richmond.
Well, how direct? What do you mean by direct, Matt?
His name is Lee. It's
I
the
know
same
that.
name. He was direct grandfather, great grandfather. He was a direct descendant of Robert E. Lee.
Wow.
Well, that's freaking
Wow.
amazing.
Yeah, tell us that, like when he was drunk.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I was always impressed with Gordy, but that notches it up another level.
Everything I hear about that is another notch up. Gordy, and to take liberty, Tyson Smith, who we all knew and loved, they were my first two friends in life at a young age. And to this day, we're really exemplary of what you would want as an example to follow, how to do good and get along and be right in so many ways. Gordy and Tyson were probably my first two good peers that were good examples of how to behave socially. Which,
That, that's
for what it's worth. And there's countless things after that, Since we're here with Gordy, we were 10 or 11, and Bob Shepard and I started a company selling chameleons and frogs and snakes and stuff, right? And our source for those green owls, the little American chameleon, was Louisiana Biological Supply Center out of Boys Life magazine for 25 cents a piece, right? 4 for $1. So they commonly sold for $1 a piece. So Bob and I started to say, yeah, well, maybe we'll quadruple our buddy ordering these lizards, we'll still sell them for the lowest amount because people were into that kind of stuff. And we had tons of them. And Gordy found out our source. And so Gordy, I guess he probably thought about it, and he's one of our best friends. He let Bob and I know that we need to let him in on the company, or he was going to blow the whistle and tell everybody about where we were getting these lizards that everyone wanted for $1, that we could get for $0.25. Right? So that was funny. That was the first time I ever sort of was sued, but it's such good taste, you know. So, yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of adventurous people out with Gordy, and I'm not gonna take the time to recount
Well, no,
hundreds of
I'm actually
times,
glad.
hundreds of times out.
The next thing I was actually gonna talk about is because, you know, Gordy just happens to be the most recent person that
Yeah.
we've lost.
Yeah, Tyson was,
Tyson Smith,
the
and
two of them I met
as
together.
far as I know. I
John
don't think-
McClure,
Huh?
John McClure,
John McClure.
a couple of years ago.
That's right.
My
Gary?
brother Gary.
Oh, yeah.
And Tyson, like Tyson Smith, as far as I know, I don't think there was ever a memorial for him.
No, I don't think so.
And
It's
that's,
so surprising, and just the context didn't lend itself to getting anything done.
Yeah, it was COVID, and, but about 10 or 12 years ago, I was coming back from Kingsport, and I just pulled off the road and stopped in on Tyson. It was probably 9:30 at night, and I just went in and knocked on the door, and he welcomed me, and I knew, I mean, I had no confidence, I mean, I had no hesitation whatsoever. I knew he'd welcome me in, because that's just the way he was,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
When I first got back here from California, and I was looking up some old friends, I drove out to Tyson's house in Shawsville and drove across the tracks, you know, and up the driveway. And all of a sudden, he comes out the back door and approaches the car. And I don't think he recognized me. And I just sort of rolled down my window and said, "Hey, buddy, I got to take a shit real bad. Can I come in and use your toilet?" I think at first he's like, "Who the fuck are you? Get the hell out of here, man." And then he figured out who I was. And it was all good.
I have to say, I mean, I hate to hog up time, but I did the story about Tyson. One I always remember is he was up in Shawsville. He was having trouble with his roof. So he was up on his roof. And it was a tall, Victorian, steep, peaked roof house. And he was up there trying to work. He couldn't get comfortable up there, so he took a rope, tied it around his waist, went over the peak of the roof. He was working on the backside, and tied it to the bumper of an old Ford, like 2-ton truck they had.
Sounds like.
You know, and he was up there with this rope around his waist, working on his roof, and Ted pulled into the yard, his brother, Ted, and they shared that truck. Ted had his own keys to it. So he just pulled up, got out of his truck, and got in this big Ford truck, and was, and Tyson was up to get loose. I just always thought that was a funny story. He didn't get dragged off the roof. He lived, but it was a funny story.
So, all of those people we can think about this evening. I didn't know about John McClure.
A year and a half ago,
Really?
something like that.
We also lost Creasy, right?
Yep, that's maybe 8 years ago.
Yeah. And there's a lot of our generation. There's
Doug Goldsmith as well.
Doug Goldsmith, yeah.
Jim Warren.
Jim Warren.
Anybody else we can? I mean, it's
I remember
sad, but it's true. We,
What happened to all of us?
Trico and John Hay.
I didn't know that. I knew that.
Traps and friends.
So, try to bring the mood back up a notch here. And what we're going to do, this is something we started planning how long ago? A couple of weeks, not long.
A few lifetimes.
Well, that too. But we would like to do some reading for you guys. I'm actually in a little while going to just read 2 short pieces by John High. But starting us out this evening are going to be my 2 daughters, Anna and Rebecca, and I'll let Anna, I guess, tell you about the artist.
Yeah.
Okay, so first things first, I was only told about this like 3 days ago, and I was asked to read one of John Hyde's favorite poets, who is Pablo Neruda, and he has, I'm not joking, like 1,000,000 poems. So I had a lot to go through in a very short amount of time, but I think I landed on one that I like a lot. And I was thinking about it. He did a lot of odes to common things. That's one of his books. And this one is, sorry. I thought I was standing close enough, but I forget I'm short. Thank you. This ode is about a gift that a friend of his got for him. And I was thinking about it this morning, and I'm kind of an emotional sponge, but I'm going to get through this without getting overwhelmed. Growing up with Dad, he never had junk. All the stuff that he had in the house, it always meant something. And so he had a lot of art. And usually, I mean, you go into a house that has a lot of art, you don't really know who did it.
Hobby Lobby.
Yeah, exactly. But when we asked, he'd be like, oh, Bill Bledsoe did that one, or Tommy Lever did that one, or this book that's on my bookshelf was a friend of mine wrote that.
Chris Vidal thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I've met most of you, I think, today, and some of you remember me when I was this big and in diapers, maybe. But I've heard all of your names throughout the years. So I'm going to try to get through this poem. I was asked to read it in the original Spanish, so I get a little cheat code, and then Rebecca's going to help me read it in English.
I'll translate if you want.
But it's about gifts from friends, and Pablo Neruda can say things about a gift from a friend that I couldn't come up with what he said. So I'm going to read it in the original Spanish, and then Rebecca's going to help me with the English. Okay. Se llama.
Give them a round.
El poema se llama Oda a los calcetines, Pablo Neruda. Me trajo Mara More un par de calcetines que tejió con sus manos de pastora. 2 calcetines suaves como liebres, en ellos metí los pies como en 2 estuches, tejidos con hebras del crepúsculo y pellejos de ovejas. Violentos calcetines, mis pies fueron 2 pescados de lana, 2 largos tiburones de azul ultramarino, atravesados por una trenza de oro, 2 gigantescos mirtos, 2 cañones. Mis pies fueron honrados de este modo por estos celestiales calcetines. Eran tan hermosos que por primera vez mis pies me parecieron inaceptables, como 2 decrépitos bomberos indignos de aquel fuego bordado de aquellos luminosos calcetines. Sin embargo, resistí la tentación aguda de guardarlos como los colegiales preservan las luciérnagas, como los eruditos coleccionan documentos sagrados. Resistí el impulso furioso de ponerlas en una jaula de oro y darles cada día alpiste y pulpa de melón rosado. Como descubridores que en la selva entregan el rarísimo venado verde al asador y se lo comen con remordimiento, estiré los pies y me enfundé, los bellos calcetines y luego los zapatos. Y es esta la moral de mi oda. 2 veces es belleza la belleza, y lo que es bueno es doblemente bueno, cuando se trata de 2 calcetines de lana en el invierno.
Wow!
I'm a little bit simpler of a woman, so I'm not sure what any of that said, but I do because it's right here on this paper. I will read it.
Thank you.
This is called Ode to My Socks. Maru Mori brought me a pair of socks, which she knitted herself with her sheep herder's hands, 2 socks as soft as rabbits. I slipped my feet into them as though into 2 cases, knitted with threads of twilight and goatskin. Violet socks, my feet were 2 fish made of wool, 2 long sharks, sea blue, shot through by 1 golden thread, 2 immense blackbirds, 2 cannons. My feet were honored in this way by these heavenly socks. They were so handsome, for the first time my feet seemed to me unacceptable, like 2 decrepit firemen unworthy of that woven fire, of those glowing socks. Nevertheless, I resisted the sharp temptation to save them somewhere. As schoolboys keep fireflies, as learned men collect sacred texts, I resisted the mad impulse to put them into a golden cage and each day give them birdseed and pieces of pink melon. Like explorers in the jungle who hand over the very rare green deer to the spit and eat it with remorse, I stretched out my feet and pulled on the magnificent socks and then my shoes. The moral of my ode is this: beauty is twice beauty, and what is good is doubly good when it is a matter of two socks made of wool in winter.
Oh, wow.
Double sisters. Wow.
Especially in the wintertime.
Yeah, you can see.
Well done, well done.
Would you two like to join me again?
Oh, sure. I love being on stage.
Because I want them to come up while you guys are up here too. So thank you, Anna Van Balen, and thank you, Rebecca Van Balen. That was wonderful. Our next reading is going to be with Sasha Alexandra High. And you know, Preston, I'm sorry, the last
Coupe.
name?
Goofy.
Goofy. So they are going to read a piece together of Sasha's dad's, and it's from the Sasha poem.
That's me.
You don't know, John High, sitting right over there. We were asked to read a poem from the Sasha Poems, which is very fitting, as my name is Sasha, and this book is mine, therefore.
I forgot to tell everyone though too, you're my goddaughter.
And that is my godfather, the best godfather in the world, who made sure that we made it here this weekend, and it's been a blessing to see and meet everyone here.
It took a little threatening by her dad and me, but that's it.
Mostly by David B.
He made an offer that you can't refuse.
He did. And I'm so grateful. So Sasha Poems was published in 1996, a little after I was born. And Preston decided to join me, and I think it's another blessing to be able to share.
Absolutely.
This poem we chose together is actually dedicated to Brother Bill, or for me, Uncle Bill, who we're also thinking of tonight. And it's called Little Boy Blue, which I think is a fabulous name. Her wiggly feet, the way the road made them look more round in the morning dew, plying checkers and marbles through the grass all day, a cat in the meadow, a rooster in the yarn, the father posing as a little boy blue in his torn button-down blazer. What if this longing, we all began to wonder, what if it were a figure or an object or a sky? Still, it was the wind that proposed the question as the two pivoted around the bend near the mill, trudged on toward the tavern of other ghosted ones joking in the wind. What if you could see your desire in that room, for instance, or in the field, or in the child's face? The wind politely inquired. The man carried the sky with him as he considered the question and counted its secrets, just as the child pointed to the tavern's open window where the monks had joined together, drinking from our discarded bottles of wine.
This is how the father's meditation began at dusk. So why now the pondering of jealousy, or what the wind might demurely call longing? On a crisp sunny day, why even the child cooed too? Why even the child cooed, too young for such flirtation and innocence? So the man tripped as the scent of poppies entered his blood. For an instant, he raged in silence as if to rebuke either the wind or its scarecrow. Why do you think this is your book, Sasha?
Because I am writing it, Papa.
Ah, without money, of course. Neither wagon nor stranger would stop them. Little boy blue, come blow your horn. All the same, the two were content in this journey. Grapes on the vine and pickles in the field, the child staggered forward, kneeled once by the side of a rose. Yes, the despair. She prayed that the skin of it be removed from her father as easily as she peeled back the green of the rose's stem.
3 spotted owls rested on the scarecrow's shoulders. 3 monks assembled in the lament. The roundest said nothing. Why this jealousy for those who beckon toward absence? Little boy blue, blow your horn, the spiders hooted.
Now the man saw the handless monk reach out and touch a beetle crawling up the side of her bare arm.
We'll find the language of the things which surround us, Micah stuttered, as the child rose to her feet and carried on. Bravo, John.
Not bad, huh?
Not
Not
too
bad,
shabby.
pulling it off.
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby.
Would you two like to join me up here again? I'm gonna actually read just 2 short pieces by John High from another book.
I have been so honored with this sort of thing. You know, the only thing better is money.
Which we'll be around to collect here in a little bit. We take credit cards.
Venmo.
I hate to interrupt, but Johnny tried to sell his family gravestone back to me.
Listen, you know, we don't need those graves.
Did try today.
I tried to sell them, but they
Any
apparently they're not
takers?
worth much.
It's a gravestone in Roanoke. They said only a single one is less valuable.
Anyway, I tried
We'll
to sell
take any
them.
bid.
If your family needs a gravestone, I've got 8, but they're mostly for cremation, and I got a good price.
Very good.
So the first piece I'm going to read is Tango On, the child says.
Oh, I love that.
Tango on, the child says to the dead one. Tonight in the brilliance of trees, the brother waves on his stool. Across the sky, the sea, the stars. Away the stars, away the sky, away the sea, away with us. Away cries the child tonight, among brilliant and rooted trees. Blind man's bluff, a bag of skin, 2 moons, and even this doesn't touch it. I was just tying my shoes when you came along, making a hoopla about it. The next piece is a very short piece, and I think it's actually a very powerful.
That's right.
Henry liked it.
Oh, wait.
So this is a short piece, and this is called The Older You Get. Fitting, isn't it?
Speak for yourself.
The older you get, the more we appreciate this simplicity of a child's greed, says the one-eyed boy. Now, I would like to introduce the next reader, Andrea Libben. And she's going to read
Well, who says you can't go home again?
That's great.
This is just so beautiful. It's so meaningful. We had so many beautiful times here with Sasha coming for so many years. So many of you were so supportive and incredibly generous in your welcoming, and it's just so beautiful to return now and have that same welcome, and to come with Sasha's dearest beau, Kristen, and to be welcomed back in this way. And thank you, JVB, for making this all happen.
Absolutely.
the North Star for all of us. And to see so many of you and to be back here in Ralph's beautiful creative space. And one of the wonderful things tonight has been to not only to reconnect with so many dear friends like Mac, and to be here with Kathy, and to see so many old friends here, but then as well to meet some new ones who I've heard so much about from back in the day and seen your photos. So it's been really fun getting to meet you in person. There were a lot of delicious salads and things like that. So thank you, everybody, for the wonderful Southern welcome from New York. You really don't shy on your great reputation for the welcome. And, I was thinking back to dear Gary, and so many absent friends, and then thinking about Tyson. Boy, I had quite a story with Tyson, and he really lived up to the Southern, being a Yankee from NYC. He nearly shot a person in my honor, so that was my welcome to the South. And I'm not kidding. So I'm going to read this because another dear absent one is Sasha's Uncle Billy, and Johnny's little brother, Uncle Billy. And this is for you, Henry Jackson, as well. In Passage. And John wrote this book after Billy passed away. He called up his publisher and said, my brother just passed away. We were out in our little garden in Brooklyn, shedding some tears, and he said, yes, I will. And this was that. And I know many of you knew Billy and all those other dear friends who passed and are with us. A sky with no mouth and no mind, returning home, just another dream world now. Eyes penetrating and touching marrow. Fields empty of what birds lift in wind. What happened when the tree withers and the leaves fall, and so the ground beneath no feet appears, waking up in the passage, and all these hungry geese of longing tossed free, ghosting in the brush, listening to the coursing of time, brother. Ravage, and all mammoth around, cloudless sky, ash clear. Who are you, crossing borders of death and ceaseless boundaries, whose faith, what boat, where now? A pebble in a shoe, in the beginning of a long, ancient growth. Just let go of what you can't do. Sweet, dead plum blossom.
Oh, good.
All our next guest, everyone knows. And I just wanted to say that you've been one of the best friends. You, one of the loves of my life, for sure. And anyway,
I love Johnny too.
No, you don't. No.
Your love is false.
But anyway, I've always kind of wanted to do this. Please give a warm welcome hand for Mr. John Hyde.
Well, I'm kind of impressed with myself. I mean, I don't remember writing any of that. I really don't. But I think it's really good. You know, it's really good stuff. I should have got paid more. You know, I was thinking about this kind of precarious and, you know, curious propensity toward making some sort of lightness and humor out of whatever comes up, and not taking things too seriously, which of course is something I always do. I take everything so fucking seriously, I can't even imagine how I stay alive. And then I was remembering, because I was thinking about our pals and our loved ones who have passed on in the great passage. I mean, we're not separated by anything. I mean, there is no birth or death, you know, which awakens the great mind of compassion, which also includes a little humor. And Gary and I, John's brother, we hung out quite a bit, and we were working up for Billy Joe up on a horse farm and mostly baling hay. And she saw a sucker, and we were all suckers. And you know, she paid us near nothing, but she put up that little grocery store that sold beer and sandwiches. And so by the time we got a paycheck on it every Friday, we were further and further in debt. And I liked her. She was good. You know, she was a good scam. You know, I mean, she was good at it. And then we'd go out drinking at night, or not even going out. There were no bars or anything. And we'd wake up in the morning, you know, after going to bed after a few hours. And Gary and I shared a room together. And we had 2 or 3 sinks in there, a couple toilets. And we'd both fill the sink up with ice cold water and stick our head in the water and wake up and said, I can't believe it. I got better looking. And not long before Gary passed, I reminded him of that story, and he said, but I got better looking than you. So anyway, you know, the reason I'm here is to thank you all, and I mean each and every person, because my life has hardly begun, but what has happened so far has been truly miraculous. I mean, I have just like lived this miraculous, happy, extraordinary life. Not without a few mishaps, mostly with authorities.
Always getting in the way.
Sometimes with governments. I've had passport issues. And I've been arrested too many times. But I have managed to always be free. And I'm very grateful for that, and I hope it continues. I really am very dedicated to being free, and I do not want to go to jail. And I'm not interested in prison. But I know a lot of people who have been, and I know a lot of people who have died that way. I know a lot of people who have politically dedicated their lives completely and fully to the liberation of all beings who have suffered deeply. And I feel that I and all of us benefit from the compassion of the people who give their life over to this in every single realm. Every single realm. And I feel that it's our responsibility to do the same we can with our families, with our friends, with one another, and if possible, with whatever we do with our work and our life. And I genuinely believe that everyone here does that. And it makes me very grateful to be amongst such honored people. That's even you, Doug. That's even you, Doug.
You can't hide.
That's even you. I know you're back there. I know you're out there. So, of course, amongst all of the loved ones who we've all felt both pain and joy around, of course, I have a particular intimacy with my brother Billy. And not only, we chat all the time and sing together, but this is dedicated to him, and it's called Angel in the Pocket, and I thought I'd read it. It has been published, and it's a little bit different than some of the work you've heard before of mine. And there's a kind of effort here to speak to you. The Sound, Shenandoah Valley. When I was 5 years old, a man unknown to me came and took me and my brother Billy to church. It was a big church, and he baptized us there. I wondered if our small bodies were drowning as he held our tiny heads under the water. This was the first of many baptisms. Afterwards, I stole a baby angel from the altar. It seemed fair. The broken angel missing a mouth. The angel in my pocket had an inscription on its base. The meek will inherit the earth. I was not meek, but vulnerable. The poem in my pocket, though, already singing. This angel with a broken mouth would sustain me. The song guiding the trajectory of my life as a poet, leading me into cemeteries, death, renewal. This song and coin I've been living for many years. These stories cannot hurt you, the angel once whispered. Perhaps they will please you and those gathered around. Those living and those dead. Listen to the stories. You are the one who imagines, and you are the one who is imagined. Do I write you, or do you write me? I asked on the darkest night in a parking lot of some little town in Georgia. For us, being sick or not being sick has nothing to do with it, boy. Being young or old has never had anything to do with it. Dead or alive, why, that has nothing to do with it. We write each other. That's what poets do. Perhaps I dreamed this, or the angel with a broken mouth was dreaming me. The Call, Talking God's Orphanage. By the age of 12, I had taken to frequenting graveyards where I had first begun to write nursery rhymes as a runaway child. Since I lived in various orphanages and reform schools and educated in what I was once once told were the retarded classes, this did not seem strange to me. We were smarter than all of them, and I fought their bullies. Eventually becoming a boxer, a gambler, a thief, a street fighter, and a singer of unknown tunes, a confused boy wandering down the county roads. At the orphanage, they made me the child radio preacher, and I was tutoring the older kids in exchange for not getting beat up. Memorizing the verses of St. John, I would hum them over the radio waves, and the donations would come pouring in. For this, I would receive special privileges and read and study after the lights were out in our little rooms, memorizing the Gospels with the faint sound of R&B and Motown cooing from my transistor radio. St. John chanting, "In the beginning was the Word," and Otis Redding singing by the dock of the bay, "But this loneliness won't leave me alone." Among the orphans I met in the fields, there was a one-eyed boy who became my constant companion, a mute girl who followed us to the river every day, especially after some of the beatings on those more brutal days. Once we burned down their fucking barn and escaped on a wild pony into the black night. They found my pony and transistor radio, but not the one-eyed boy and mute girl. Still, they made me sleep for 40 nights in a closet, as if their little Jesus had wandered off into the desert. Some might have called the boy and girl my imaginary friends, but they were real to me. I learned to hide out in libraries reading, and over time took to stealing books of poetry, now beginning to memorize the poet's words. Everything around us is saying our story, boy. Hear it buzzing in the sound of your radio. Hence began my official study of verse and my first small death in uncovering its sounds. Jumping off the cliff, learning how to fly. I was almost 14 the next time I died. I was staring out the window from the back seat of a stolen pickup truck floating in the sky, suddenly startled by the treetops banging against the windshield as an older hoodlum drunk steered the pickup off a cliff while I was finally becoming one of the many stars of the book now in my pocket, telling the tale of a little prince. A runaway of lost children. We had robbed the orphanage that night and broke my brother free from the local psych ward somewhere on a county road outside Roanoke, Virginia. It was so easy. I had just walked through the unlocked back door sometime after midnight, a gun in my pocket, stoned and high as a kite, and took a white jacket from the closet. But no one was even around. When I unstrapped him from the bed, all my younger brother Billy said was, "What took you so long? And hey, don't forget my toothbrush and my smokes." When I woke up, bloodied, looking up at the cliff above us, the medic at the crash told me we'd miraculously landed in a swamp. "You almost died, boy." Though now on my way to jail and forever awestruck, we all survived. Billy sent back to the psych ward, but with the help of the angel and my new friends, we would rescue him many times. The angel crawling from the wreckage, brushing off the wounds, would later remind me, we once thought we were their story, but they don't know our story. It's only these words we choose to speak in our poems. You, boy, are a deep sound in the forests and swamps, a language unknown to them. And now, little prince, you have learned how to fly. The Beckoning, Appalachian Mountains. And I'll finish with this one. I think I'll finish where I just did. Thank you.
So we had conducted this experiment. I won't read the name of the experiment because it's so long, but we did an independent fishery survey, a dependent fishery survey, and a fishery reward program in order to collect DNA and all sorts of data of sturgeon all around the Chesapeake Bay, because the National Marine Fisheries Service had said, and they were going to act on, that there were no more sturgeon in the Chesapeake Bay. If there were any, it was less than 300 and they weren't reproducing. But for almost 40 years, I had direct empirical knowledge that the exact opposite was what was occurring, right? Because of all the bays, the rivers, and all over the estuarine waterways. So we did that study, and in just a short period of time, we had 606 pieces of DNA from unique sturgeon in different river systems with everything they said didn't exist. So this first conference, because this was going to kick off a whole bunch of major research on this thought to be extirpated species. So I just wrote this the night before the conference. And my best poem is, I've memorized it. This I need to read it, but just realized I need my glasses. No, I better get the glasses. That would be the best thing. So where the hell I put them? They're usually on my head. I think I can read it. Anyway.
Do you want mine?
That's all right. I can read it with this light. That's actually probably good. So the poem is Ossipenser oxyrenchus. We have now our mission, restore Atlantic sturgeon. The data we need is just now emerging. Genetics from Henderson, King, and Wirgin may show the population finally resurging. Behold ye the mighty Ossipenser oxyrenchus. Population restoration is a goal so momentous. Restoring this species would be truly portentous, but lacking the habitat, an exercise so pretentious. Loss of species is an end quite horrific. Our task so important is really terrific. Resources and knowledge are just now converging to help bring back the Atlantic sturgeon. Hail ye the majestic Ossipenser oxyrenchus. Single species management must not entrench us. Into relying on modeling, it's too unrealistic. Ecosystem efforts, lest we get too simplistic. Habitat and water quality are all synergistic. So that's kind of a weird poem for me to be reading. But the people at the scientific conferences usually don't have someone pop up a poem at them. But this was sort of momentous, and like the fishermen that I'd initiated and written the grant proposal for it, I told them, George, if you and Jimmy want to do this, we'll be on the cover of the National Fisherman magazine if this shows what I think this study is going to show. And they're like, yeah, all right. Well, the month after this conference, we were on the cover of the National Fisherman magazine, and for a commercial fisherman, that's like the cover of the Rolling Stone. It just doesn't happen. But the other one started as, the other poem started as sort of lighthearted, frivolous gaiety in that my friend Blair at the most expensive restaurant in Williamsburg, this really fine French restaurant, and he worked there, and Ralph knows, I think he actually was lived with him, Blair. I was bringing them something super fresh from the docks out in the marshes on the back end of Pocosin, and getting paid for it, you know. And they would always treat me to fine French wine and the best food available within hundreds of miles. So it was kind of a neat thing. He started talking to me in verse. So is Fish Boy coming out of the marshes now? We started sort of speaking. And so it sort of started as a whimsical type poem, but it's weird down there on the marsh. It's really strange winds and strange tides and really strange people. Really strange people on the backside of Pocosin. But I thought it up on the way up to Layaka, and we wrote it on a cocktail napkin, which I still have. And it's called The Return of Fish Boy. Forgive me at the beginning, but I think I've committed this to memory. Deep in the fog-shrouded nocturne, sleep but the cry of the cock-turn, prowling the relentless void, howling, return of Fish Boy, flying his way like an eel, he knows the abyss just by feel, stealing through the creek in the grass, you don't even know till he's passed. Soaring as the vulture in flight, Fish Boy glides to the right, Sighing as a widow bereft, fish boy drifts to the left. Deftly his hand guides the tiller, and swiftly the skiff bears the killer. Cold thoughts that furrow his face, foreboding the air of this place. Tight the line and the leader, hungry ego must feed her. To what morality doth comport killing the fish just for sport? Grim the lines of his features, stalking the deep and its creatures. Thus to the rockfish chagrin, fish boy strikes again. That's it. It started out real lighthearted, and it sort of became dark and brooding, but what are you gonna do, fire me? You can fire me if you want.
That was the evening's entertainment. I would like to leave everyone with one last thought, though. People, particularly around here, I would love to see you try to reach out to Ralph, whether by phone or email or Facebook, and try to visit him during one of his performances here. I think you'll really enjoy it.
Wonderful.
Please come out.
Come a lot.